It's all about the bridge. Crossover right here on the bridge in 99. Bridging the gap to the world. And right now, I got somebody special. It's Community Wednesday. So we love to do things for the community. And you guys know I'm very big on health. I want everybody out there to understand that the first line of defense is living a healthy lifestyle. It is so super important to learn about the different foods, the different vitamins, the different things that you can actually eat that come from Mother Earth that can help strengthen you up. And I've got a good friend on the line, Douglas K. Gordon, who happens to be the CEO of CeeLo Wellness. They're talking about the medical and functional uses of mushrooms. Now, this is a conversation that's been going on for decades since our ancestors, but I think somewhere it got lost in the dialogue. Let's see if we got Doug on the line. Doug, you there?
Hey, Nikki, I am indeed. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am doing great. Congratulations on what you and the Marley Foundation also, or the Marley, is it the Marley Foundation or is it just Sedella Marley separately?
It's the Marley family. So
Okay.
Sedella is the CEO of the Bob Marley Group of companies and
Okay.
our collaborations with them.
All right. So tell me about this new venture with CeeLo Wellness and mushrooms. How does that come in?
Well, CeeLo Wellness is a vertically integrated psychedelics company. So we cultivate mushrooms here in Jamaica. We also operate retreats in Jamaica as well as in Oregon. And we also manufacture and produce the line of functional mushrooms that we've just launched with the Marley family called Marley One.
I love that because Marley One, it's separate from the psychedelics. It's just it's like the CBD THC that we get with weed, right? Could you explain how that works, how the medical separate from the psychedelic works?
Yeah, surely. So there's basically three types of mushrooms, right? So there's culinary, which we know shiitake, portobello, etc. Then there's functional mushrooms, which are like lion's mane, turkey tail, cordyceps, chaga, etc. And then there's psychedelic mushrooms, which is psilocybin based. So, those are three different groupings of mushrooms in general. And the psychedelic ones are only the psilocybin type of mushrooms, and the rest are completely non-psychedelic. But at the same token, in the functional space, there's proven health benefits from using the different species, and that's what we're leveraging and bringing to market with Marley One.
I love the fact that when I got on the Zoom call, I got the privilege of listening about some of the things that the mushroom, the non-psychedelics can cure. We're talking gut health, anxiety, sleeping disorder, stuff like that. But it was also interesting to hear from Sedella herself saying that Bob Marley actually was a mushroom connoisseur as well. So that was, very insightful for me and had me doing even more research to it. Because a lot of people, when they hear psychedelic, they're just kind of thinking 70s, yeah, man, oh, we're getting stoned. And it's really not ancestral why they were using mushrooms from them times, right?
Correct. I mean, in so many of the indigenous communities, psychedelics have been used, as sort of a holistic health regimen. You know what I mean? And that's what we're seeing as an immense power in terms of mental health, anxiety, and PTSD treatment. Yeah. That psychedelics really hold a lot of promise where some of the existing medicines just don't work.
Yeah.
And so it's extremely exciting to be able to sort of help folks to navigate back from, some of the challenges that you have when you have those sorts of, health ailments and impediments.
Yeah.
So we do have something that's natural that, taken properly, responsibly, and helped and properly governed, has such transformative properties.
Well, I particularly myself, I've been very interested in it after I started finding out that it actually does help with mental wellness, as well as people who suffer from trauma and also PTSD. Because, I am a diagnosed sufferer of PTSD. So I literally battle with that a lot, and I'm not really going to sit in anybody's office and spit out my life story. It's just not a thing. It's not my thing. So I was curious about the mushrooms. I actually tried it 2 weeks ago. My first time. I did it twice. Last week and the week before. And I will say that the first time I actually did it, I took, what they call it, microdoses around a 2-hour span. And I can see how it helped. Not in that moment, but the after effect. Like after it was all over, every day I wake up, I can feel my brain trying to change its thought process towards something else. It's not like a major, oh my gosh, I'm cured, but I can see how if I continue with it in the way that it was prescribed to me by the holistic person I spoke to about it,
Right.
how it can help. So I'm curious, why hasn't this been something even bigger on the forefront if it does have this power?
Well, you alluded to it earlier. Some of the visuals that have been associated with psychedelics in the past have been quite disturbing to some folks, right? They've been used very recreationally.
Yeah.
And so it's only after a lot of the science that has been conducted and the research that has, generated some of these outcomes that people have gotten, in a more sort of modern, traditional sense.
Yeah.
Modern medical sense, comfort around what their real transformative properties are.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the indigenous cultures, and not the sort of recreational use that we've seen, but in the traditional cultures, how they've been used in the indigenous communities, it's never been for just recreational purposes. It's been very much for a very mindful,
ceremonial
wellness
uses.
type of use. Exactly. So what we're now able to see is, basically what they do is, we all suffer from trauma, right? On different ends of the spectrum, it's how it affects us in a more long-term position or perspective, as well as obviously there are acute mental challenges that people face as well that are diagnosed, right?
Yeah.
But what psychedelics help us to do, Nikki, is to essentially rewire our neural pathways.
That's
what
what
happens
I've
over
been hearing.
time
Yeah.
is we experience different things in our lives, all of us, and that trauma, that incident, it registers, and then over time, what we tend to do to protect ourselves and insulate ourselves from reliving some of those challenging moments is we find ways to change the topic or think about other things or cope with that hurt.
Or completely separate yourself from most humans more than you have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what they do for us is they help us to reinterpret the trauma. So the consequence of that, instead of us being triggered early and finding these different coping mechanisms that steer us away from where that pain may or may not reside, it allows us to have a totally different relationship with that experience. And so it's not as impactful to us in a way of throwing us off our proverbial game, if you will.
Yeah.
And in so doing, it allows us to use more of our mind. And that's why it's so transformative.
Yeah.
And, I'll say this. We had a recent summit here in Montego Bay. And Dr. Delahaye, who's, a very well-known, well-respected, Johns Hopkins educated psychiatrist, he said that psychedelics are essentially the only medicine, if you will, that is useful for folks who are unwell, as well as for folks who are well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important thing for us to understand, because so many of us that are fully functioning human beings per the definition, we're still not able to access the totality of our capacity, simply because we all have these different traumas that we navigate around.
Yeah.
And because we are fearful of them, because they impact us in different ways, we deprive ourselves of use of our full capacity.
I know,
and
that's
so
right.
that's where I think it's so powerful, not just as a solution for folks who are struggling with inadequate or ineffective pharmaceutical remedies for their different mental health challenges, but for those of us who are quote unquote fully functioning, but not really at our full potential. And I think that's where it's so powerful and inspiring.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, we definitely need to dip into mental health a lot more on the island for sure. It's a topic that's so taboo and people don't talk about it. A lot of people just get called mad when really and truly there's traumas just in their head they have not been able to break away from. And that is
100%.
very important. But Doug, we don't have a whole lot of time, and I want to make sure I got your full message across to all of the listeners everywhere, because I personally think this is super important. I've been sharing every trip, because they call them trips, on my Facebook. So I'm trying to do it not every week. I did 2 weeks in a row. I'm doing a break, and then next weekend I'm going to try it again, because it's not like it's something where you're like smoking a spliff and you want to do 2-3 times a day, especially if you're doing it for, at least I don't think you do. But what else would you want the listeners to know about the healthy side, which is just the non-psychedelic side, as well as the psychedelic side, as far as your company is concerned?
Well, I mean, we'll soon have Marley One in market, and again, that's functional, completely non-psychedelic.
Yeah.
And you're talking about One Mind. These are the different product lines we have with Marley One. One Mind, One Harmony, One Flow, One Rest. So it's all things that promote certain aspects. One Rest uses reishi. It's great for sleep. So folks who have challenges with sleeping, it's proven very effective to support them in that in a very natural and organic way. One Flow is great for energy and sort of boosts you up so that you have more vitality in what you're doing. So I mean, they have very distinct health properties, and that's what we want to get to the local market, so you can really start to see the benefits of using more natural compounds to help you in your daily lives, and get the health benefits from them.
All right. I love it. That's Douglas Gordon on the line. The rise of the mushrooms. It is happening, people. It is happening.
Absolutely.
Silo Wellness. Let me say this right. Silo Wellness. You can go ahead and go online and check them out at silowellness.com. Amazing retreats that definitely can help you mind, body, and soul, whether you're a couple, whether you're a solo female, a solo male, or you're a group or whatever. So definitely check it out. Douglas, thank you so much for joining us on Community Wednesdays.
Thank you for having me, Nikki. Have a wonderful day.
Anytime.